что ж, друзья, бойцы русского добровольческого корпуса снова ведут бои на территории Российской Федерации. Совсем скоро покажется окраина Шебекина. К сожалению, мы не можем обеспечить эвакуацию мирных жителей из приграничных районов, потому что армия Российской Федерации обстреливает эти районы и таким образом затрудняет эвакуацию. Находитесь в домах, не волнуйтесь, бойцы русского добровольческого корпуса не воюют с мирными жителями.
Мы, Легион Свободы России, сейчас находимся возле границы нашей Родины. Очень скоро мы выдвинемся вновь на территорию России, чтобы принести свободу, мир и спокойствие. Грайворон – это только начало. Вследствие трусливости путинских военных шакалов нам досталось много трофеев. Благодаря этому мы сможем больше вооружить наших соратников. Мы идем освобождать всю Россию, от Белгорода до Владивостока. Для этого, чтобы в Москве был поднят бело-сине-белый флаг свободы.
Russian TV released footage Friday of what they said were evacuees from Ukraine bordering Belgorod region, trying to leave the area as an explosion happened.
Мне лекарства дома все есть. Вещи, мы без вещей. Вот все наши вещи, документы успели оставить.
Two people were killed and 2 others injured after Ukrainian shelling and drone attacks target several regions in western Russia overnight.
Мы только подъезжаем вот как раз к месту взрыва, метров 100 до взрыва осталось. И бабах, Панама.
Нам сообщили, что дали двухчасовой промежуток времени проникнуть туда. Мы уехали, ни вещей, ничего, вот без документов. А подъезжаем, да, и на наших глазах взрыв, то ли мина, то ли снаряд.
RTR's footage also showed evacuees from Belgorod region arriving in the town of Penza, where 2 sites were prepared for them to settle.
Мы удивились, что тихо, ехали тихо, никаких бахов, ничего. Мы уже просто привыкли, что шум, вот этот грохот.
Всего приехало у нас сегодня 171 человек, и еще 8 человек добираются своим транспортом. Мы тоже сейчас их встретим и тоже разместим на наших пунктах размещения. Среди этого состава у нас 135 детей и женщины. Семьи многодетные. Мы подготовили площадки для всех на 2 базах.
Belgorod governor said on Friday at least 1 incident of shelling had been reported overnight in the Shebekina district, and over 2,500 people were being evacuated from the area. Russia said it had launched a terror probe as Moscow's troops were responding to a sabotage group that crossed over from Ukraine. Who are the Freedom for Russia Legion? It is the British media that is enthusiastically reporting on this Freedom for Russia Legion. It consisted mainly of Russians who were engaged in fighting against their countrymen on the battlefield of the Donbass. Some of them were captured and turned to the Ukrainian side from the pro-Russian armed forces. They were spy-checked for a certain period of time before joining the troops. They are Chechens, Dagestanis, Georgians, Belarusians, Poles, etc., together with other foreign fighters. They are fighting alongside the Ukrainian army as the Ukrainian International Foreign Legion. They are not Russian partisans, etc., as reported by the media, but a full Ukrainian army. The Russian Volunteer Army is, needless to say, a unit that participates in the Ukrainian military. What do they want to do with Russia? They claim as if Russian citizens are impoverished, oppressed, and ruled by fear by the Kremlin. It is a laughable joke when the dictator Putin is overthrown, the Kremlin is dropped, and the resulting military dictatorship is born. The Japanese media reports these developments as if they are a positive trend. Are they serious? Terrorism has never moved history in a constructive direction. Impressing Russia, which has developed under Putin's regime, as if it were the Russia of 30 years ago, does not cover up Japan's decline. If you walk down Central Avenue in Ginza today, you will find empty tenements everywhere, and they have not been filled for months. I wonder where they can afford to beat up on other countries? How much has 30 years of Japan's history enriched people's lives? Citizens who do not vote condemn other countries in the name of democracy. It is quite an interesting story. Back to the topic of Prigozhin. This is an article that appeared in the Washington Post on May 14, 2023. Wagner chief offered to give Russian troop locations to Ukraine, leak says. In late January, with his mercenary forces dying by the thousands in a fight for the ruined city of Bakhmut, Wagner Group owner Yevgeny Prigozhin made Ukraine an extraordinary offer. Prigozhin said that if Ukraine's commanders withdrew their soldiers from the area around Bakhmut, he would give Kyiv information on Russian troop positions, which Ukraine could use to attack them. Prigozhin conveyed the proposal to his contacts in Ukraine's military intelligence directorate, with whom he has maintained secret communications during the course of the war. According to previously unreported U.S. intelligence documents leaked on the group chat platform Discord, Prigozhin has publicly feuded with Russian military commanders, who he furiously claims have failed to equip and resupply his forces, which have provided vital support to Moscow's war effort. But he is also an ally of Russian President Vladimir Putin, who might well regard Prigozhin's offer to trade the lives of Wagner fighters for Russian soldiers as a treasonous betrayal. The leaked document does not make clear which Russian troop positions Prigozhin offered to disclose. In an interview with the Washington Post this month, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky would not confirm the contacts with Prigozhin. This is a matter of military intelligence, he said. The Ukrainian leader also objected to airing classified information publicly, and said he believed that the leaks had benefited Russia. There is an interesting story in this Zelensky interview that appeared in the Washington Post this past May 13. The documents indicate that HUR, your intelligence directorate, has back-channel contact with Yevgeny Prigozhin that you are aware of, including meeting with Yevgeny Prigozhin and HUR officers. Is that true? This is a matter of military intelligence. Do you want me to be convicted of state treason? And so, it's very interesting, if someone is saying that you have documents, or if someone from our government is speaking about the activities of our intelligence, I would also like to ask you a question. With which sources from Ukraine do you have contact? Who is talking about the activities of our intelligence? Because this is the most severe felony in our country. Which Ukrainians are you talking to? I talk to officials in government, but these documents are not from Ukraine, they are from. It doesn't matter where the documents are from. The question is, with which Ukrainian official did you talk? Because if they say something about our intelligence, that's treason. If they say something about a specific offensive plan of one general or another, this is also treason. That's why I asked you, which Ukrainians are you talking to? About these specific documents? You are the first person I am talking to about them. Okay. And I can read you what information exactly there is about Prigozhin and the GUR. On February 13, Kirill Budanov, chief of Ukraine's main directorate of intelligence, informed you about a Russian plan to destabilize Moldova with two former Wagner associates. Budanov informed you that he viewed the Russian scheme as a way to incriminate Prigozhin, because we have dealings with him. You instructed Budanov to inform Moldovan President Maya Sandu, and Budanov told you that the GUR had informed Prigozhin that he would be labeled a traitor who has been working with Ukraine. The document also says that Budanov expected the Russians to use details of Prigozhin's secret talks with the GUR and meetings with GUR officers in Africa. Listen, to be honest, well, you just read something. You say something. I just don't understand where you get it, whom you talk to and so on. You talk about how I met with Budanov. This suggests that you, how do you put it? It looks like you have people who have some records, or you have some evidence, or you have something, because that's what it looks like. You are again doing, I apologize, what you were doing before. You are releasing some sort of information that does not help our state to attack, and does not help us to defend our state. So, I don't quite understand what you are talking about. I don't quite understand your goal. Is your goal to help Russia? I mean, that means we have different goals. If I'm not sitting at the same table with them, I don't quite understand what we're talking about. Each of these inquiries simply demotivates Ukraine, demotivates certain partners to help Ukraine. Well, one way or another, I just don't understand your goal. Our goal is not to help Russia. Well, it looks different. No one gave us this information personally. These were in the leaked documents, which do indicate, as I said earlier, that the United States is listening in on you. Today, in the world of modern technology, when you have access, it's not necessarily someone gave it to you. You have access. You are now quoting some documents as originals, without understanding the responsibility for this. You are just talking about some information. For me, this is incomprehensible information, but in our dialogue, I want to understand why you are doing this. I told you at the beginning of our conversation that I believe that the TV show that was launched in the information field, Helps. I don't know who, but it helps Russia, it definitely doesn't help Ukraine. You are engaged in continuing this story. And so, I ask you. If it's your choice, and if you think that the Russian Federation needs to be helped in a variety of spheres. That they were expecting a Ukrainian counteroffensive in whichever direction. So that they know when we are coming. So that they know our powerful forces and what we are planning. What our intelligence is doing. Well, if that's the case, then. This is where we connected to the Moldovan developments, we reported earlier. But Budanov also thought that it was a double maneuver to eliminate Prigozhin. That is how troublesome they are to President Putin's adversaries. Prigozhin has a scary face, abusive language, is always angry, and has a criminal record. His 9 years in prison was before the arrival of President Putin. Whether his prison sentence changed him or his encounter with President Putin did, we do not know. However, it will take education as well as training to turn the more than 10,000 prisoners into soldiers who will risk their lives to fight for their country. It should not be an easy task. It is said that Putin, the man, not only rebuilt Russia's economy, but also started by changing the mindset of the Russian people. When a ruler, who has a high level of support from the people, and is not in the least bit misgoverned, does not have his own armed forces, if you are familiar with history, you know what kind of demons are lurking in the shadows. The loyalty of Prigozhin's Wagner and Kadyrov's Chechen army is valuable in order to avoid unnecessary political upheaval in Russia.